Well, hi and welcome to Practice Makes Parent, where we understand it's not about perfection, but about transformation. I'm Dr. Danny Huerta.
And I'm Rebecca St. James. And Danny, I am sure that in your counseling practice that you see many moms who are frustrated or feel like they're alone, especially I think in our culture today where we can, I think, have this tendency to feel like we've got to appear like we have everything together or only post things that show that our family's doing great, you know, and I think that can draw us into that idea, right, of like kind of isolating or momming alone, and then that can breed its own sense of hurt or pain or, you know, again, isolation. What do you see in your practice with this?
Yeah, because many times it feels easier to do it that way. I'm just I'll figure it out. I'll do what I need to do with parenting, but it's also it can be threatening to have other people speak into your life.
Yeah.
It means you have to be vulnerable and open up to others. And so I have had several moms throughout the years come in absolutely at the point of burnout. Some saying, I think I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
I don't like being a mom. And so it's gotten too far at that point. And they've had to regain a perspective, a vision of what their role is as a mom and the beauty of that.
Yes.
But there's been a lot of hurt and pain in that process that they've been on, and I've seen, undo. Yeah, and I've seen moms frustrated with themselves where they keep doing the same thing, the same patterns, and they're going, man, I just can't seem to break free from this. They know where it's come from, and they seem to go right back to it when certain emotions hit or certain pressures and stress. And that's why that community is so important, to be able to encourage one another, pray for each other, to be able to come up with ideas, creative ideas with each other. But I noticed that when moms began to reach out to other moms and they allowed themselves to do that and formed a community with other moms, they felt energized, they felt encouraged, and they felt like they could make it those 2 weeks or those 3 weeks and get to that group and share what was going on, and then they'd pray for each other. It was almost like going to a gas station, right? You had a certain amount of fuel to get to that group. And so that's what we're talking about today, this idea of not doing it by yourself.
Alone.
You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. And it really begins with a life of prayer, and then a life of partnership with your spouse, if you're with your spouse there, and then with your friendships beyond that, to have that community helping you as you navigate a lot of different emotions and challenges.
Yes. I know I've mentioned that before on this show, Danny, that I actually have 3 other friends that we get together regularly, probably every, I would say, month and a half or so. We try to go for monthly, but it ends up being about every 6 weeks. But the amount of times, Danny, that we'll be sitting and just having a meal together, and I just have that moment of going, you too, you also are going through this same thing, you know, in your parenting. And it's just so comforting. And then I also have my best friend, who we're exactly the same age, have been best friends since we were 16. And when I was having my last child, Danny, get this, she was having her first grandchild. So she started having kids around 20, and I started having kids around 36. So isn't that wild? Like now her grandchild, her oldest, and my youngest are buds.
You have a grandma as a best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're the same age. So anyway, great community and great encouragement. And honestly, some of my favorite moments as a mom are having coffee, you know, with my best friend or these girls, and just chatting about life and getting ideas. And they're either going through it at the same time or gone through it before, and it's just so life-giving. So I think the conversation today is going to be really helpful for people listening.
And that's great. I'm sure a lot of listeners are within these types of communities. Let us know about those.
Yes.
We love to hear about life-giving communities that you've been a part of, and giving the community here, Practice Makes Parent, more ideas of how to build community with others. And coming up on this episode, we'll be talking about moms building a community with Heather McFadyen. She's an author of the book, Don't Mom Alone: growing the relationships you need to be the mom you want to be.
And we women need these friendships desperately. We're wired for it. It's that whole iron sharpens iron principle. We need each other. So coming up also on this episode, we'll hear from a dad who feels as though everything has changed in his life now that he's become a dad and is just needing some encouragement. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, that'll be good. So let's jump into our discussion with Heather McFadyen.
Thank you so much for coming.
This is such a delight. Thank you for having me.
We're excited.
I've been on your podcast.
I know it's fun to be on the other side.
We got to hug in person today.
It's way better.
Such a gift. We're thrilled you're here. We love Don't Mom Alone, just in your podcast and your books and all that you're doing to encourage moms and parents. And it can feel like it's a lot parenting in this day and age, and there's a lot coming against us. And so thank you for all you're doing to champion moms and parents. And
raising 4 boys.
Yeah, and doing that too.
Yeah.
What's the ages? What's the ages?
Y'all, for the next 6 months, I have 4 teenagers, and I feel like we need to have a moment of silence, maybe some prayer. Can we all hold hands and just pray?
And a lot of food. Yeah.
I had to go to Sam's before I left this morning to load up on all the meats. Wow. I left them with steaks.
Was it 2 carts? Was it 2 carts? Yeah.
Yeah, so 13, 15, 17, 19.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys rotate cooking?
Well, I did leave the steaks because my 15-year-old loves to cook.
That's
steaks.
A blessing.
Yeah.
That's a grace.
It is something. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd love to start off just with your story about like the why of like why you got into ministering to moms. Like what happened in your life that was the catalyst for what you're doing right now?
So what's interesting is this show I'm doing was first branded God-centered mom. And it was me trying all the different ways, like child-centered. I come from a speech pathology background, so I knew all the child development things, and that wore me out by the time I got to the 3rd boy. And then the 4th boy put me into me-centered mode, and it's like, oh, wait, this isn't working either. And so I was humbled and thought, well, what if I put God in the center of all this? The trick is that brand made people think I'm going to tell them how to be holy moms, perfect moms. And the pressure of that and the pressure I was under. I had one friend call me Mother of God, which that's not.
Oh, wow.
That's not right. There's a lot of wrong there. There's a lot wrong there. So it was like, not only did I have the pressure of 4 young boys, and my husband at the time was working so much, he got maybe 2 hours of sleep at night, which y'all know as you're having kids, typically your careers are taking off and the strain. And I found myself, despite having a lot of people around me, friendships, we were in a great church, I had mentors, I had friends, I was isolating emotionally. I wasn't really sharing all that was going on and being vulnerable.
Because you're in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
I was in survival mode, and I'm the God-centered mom.
Oh, wow.
Right. It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And that landed me having a panic attack in a chicken line, and it wasn't Chick-fil-A, a chicken tender line. It's called Bubba's in Dallas, if you go. If you know, you know. Why is she having a panic attack here? It's the most amazing chicken. But
it should be a haven.
And that's what you know, doctor, that they don't make sense. Panic attacks don't make sense. There's no logic. I was completely safe physically, and all my boys were fine. It was just all of the anxiety and stress. Yeah, it was too much. So I realized I needed to do something differently. I started with counseling. Then we got back into community. We've kind of had pulled away with adding the kids and the time constraints there. And like I said, me not wanting to be vulnerable and authentic. I'm like, you know what? This rock bottom, I'm ready to be back with people and just be raw and real. And so we joined a small group. We went through 12-step with that community group.
That's great.
I'm a strong believer. It's for everybody. And then I've also done some inner healing prayer practice. And just all of that combined, recognized how I need community. And not just we need to have some parties and some hangouts, but just what it's like to sit in a group of people who can listen and not judge or advise, that you can share what's actually going on, and who can respond and meet your needs so that shame doesn't have a place.
So those emotional conversations where
deep.
You go into it and you know people are there to just listen
We literally have a feelings card.
Oh, wow.
So, and you point out the different ones
you have a feelings card. There's
That's
8
great.
feelings on it. My husband loved the right column because it said where the feeling shows up in your body, because he was very disconnected. Kind of the positive emotions were only allowed in his home growing up.
Yep. Joy,
Passion, love. But anytime fear or anger, where is that? It's like, fear is in the stomach, Anger is kind of an all-over energy. Shame's in the neck and shoulders. Anywho. So we sit around with the card and we say what we're feeling and we listen to one another. And, I have a couple different places like that.
Now, Heather, you may have seen warning signs as you got to that panic attack.
Yeah.
What were those warning signs that you ignored as you were just piling it on top of yourself? As you were saying yes to many things and trying to do it all, what were the warning signs that you saw?
I think going to counseling was helpful to hear from her as an objective outsider that, your just core responsibilities are a lot. So just recognizing I was trying to manage a lot of children with not a lot of help. So I wasn't even asking a friend for help with a ride from one place to another. And that seems silly, but I don't think moms are doing that as much as they used to back in the days when we all were in villages. The little things, or helping each other with meals, or whatever the little things were. I wasn't asking for any of that help. I wasn't even getting help from my spouse because he was exhausted, emotionally not available, so I wasn't able to process. So I think the warning signs were not having anyone that was a part of my kids' journey of becoming adults. That was a warning sign. I think, truly just feeling like I couldn't be in a place and share what was actually going on.
Did you feel like you were drowning, kind of?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That joke that, you know what it's like to have 5 kids. You're drowning and someone hands you a baby.
Totally.
That's very relatable when just needs, so many basic needs have to be met.
Yeah. And then you've got a platform on top of that.
Yeah, and then you have the platform of doing it well and with a little bit of Jesus on top. So
I relate to a lot of what you're talking about. I'm like,
yes,
that being there, panic attacks, all of it.
Yes.
So I'm sure that patience was hard for you as a mom at that point.
For sure. My capacity was very, very low. And so, another warning sign was for sure, I would say as a child, I was very passive. Even as an adult, one of my jobs was to be a speech pathologist with cochlear implants and kids on the autism spectrum.
Wow,
so
it's very specific.
Patience.
Yes.
Very, very, patience was kind of a theme for me. Yeah. Anger was not. But you give me 4 little boys that I can't control, and I was finding myself responding and reacting in a way that I promised myself I would never. I would never be that parent who yells. So yes, that was another telltale warning sign that this is not okay.
And how did you begin to change that pattern of just yelling at your kids and responding in anger? Because kids do trigger us.
Yeah. There are lots of external triggers. I think the first book that helped me out was called Good and Angry. And it was the first book that told me anger wasn't the problem. Because I think I'd grown up in the church and I thought, well, I need to just stop being angry. Anger is bad. And so I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have my quiet time and say, okay, I'm not going to be angry today. And in my own self-will and power, I'm going to stop it.
Yeah, it's a good goal.
it's a worthy goal, but
it's tough.
Nowhere in the Bible does it say, do not ever be angry. It's like when you're angry, do not sin. When. Yeah. And we're made in the image of God, and it's one of the emotions that he shows. Now, he's without sin. So it's not the problem, but it's when I went to solve the problems with anger. That was the issue.
Okay.
And so Good and Angry kind of laid out, okay, here are some external problems that you may be trying to solve with anger. Here's some internal. Maybe your expectations are too high for how your kids are going to get along or how your day is going to go. And I definitely think idealism was a part of my story. I want all my boys to be peaceful, loving, kind, pure, lovely, kind, all the things. And I wanted it so badly that I also believed a lie of weakness, that I didn't have it in my own strength to gain control over the situation. So anger became this energizing force. It is a good strong, powerful emotion.
It is.
But it can also shut down connection.
So when you were experiencing these moments with your kids where you just, kind of lost it, which every mom listening right now is saying, being there. I don't think there's any mom that doesn't relate to having those moments of kind of blowing up or getting angry, and kind of regretting how you handle a certain situation. After you had read the book, what were the tools that you had to then handle these situations with your kids differently?
I think it's one to be aware that it is an emotion, so you can be this non-judgmental observer of yourself. So when something's going on, paying attention. Is there a consistent theme? Like I'm noticing it's a certain time of day, or it's with a certain child, or it's a certain situation. 2, if I'm in a situation and I'm starting to feel my body all over get energized, it's like asking myself the question, I wonder what's going on here. Like paying attention to that's going in my body. Am I having an unrealistic expectation for this child? Am I feeling overwhelmed? And overwhelmed is fear. So fear was a lot behind my anger. Fear of other people's rejection, fear of failing. So once I could pinpoint, oh my goodness, and pay attention, now fear is something that's familiar in my storyline. Fearful as a child, fear has a voice in my heart. So anger was the secondary emotion to fear.
Yes. So then you were able to have compassion for yourself in that moment? Did you have to back out of the situation with your child and kind of give yourself a timeout?
Yeah, in a very specific moment with a child, you start to have grace for yourself. You recognize, I need to, and I've learned a lot more about polyvagal theory. I don't know if you want to go there now, but
sure.
Just like what is going on in me and how I need to get to a calm place. And then, yes, the repair work and thinking through, if you're listening to this and your parents use anger and in a way that was sinful and hurtful, they probably didn't repair it. I think there's generations that responded differently. And so even if that was my response, to give myself grace that I am going back and I am retying heartstrings, but it's not an excuse to continue with that behavior. It's not like, grace, keep going. It's like, let's figure out and get to that root. But
it's about regulating the nervous system, and you can use breathing, you can use body patterns, different ways that polyvagal theory talks about regulating that nervous system.
Yeah.
Super good and very, very good practices on it. And a big one is the breathing. I mean, if you take a very deep breath, hold it for a few seconds, and then release it, that's one way to regulate the polyvagal nerve. And so it's a nerve that regulates our anxious nervous system. And one thing that you just mentioned within the dialectical behavioral therapy was this observation of your emotions as simply signals. Signals for you to understand rather than things you need to suppress or get rid of.
And be curious about, right?
And be curious about it.
We talk about that on the show quite a bit.
And that's an important differentiation that I think we all need to be thinking about, because emotions they're right in front of us. They're there. We can't rip them apart and take them off us. We can't tell them to stop, but we can certainly observe them and understand them. But it takes time. It takes self-awareness. It takes practice. It takes patience with yourself, that compassion we were talking about, and maybe even writing it out with words, even if it's an emotions wheel, or you write down the emotion as a signal, and then you went backwards into, I wonder what's really going on there. I wonder what I'm seeing, what my belief is. That's a good way to calm it all down.
Yeah, and it's helpful to have that language be a part of your family, because I remember specifically one interaction where it was a boy squabble. These are common. They get over it faster than I do most often. But I was looking at my son. I'm like, why are you treating him that way? Getting escalated. And then just past him in my line of sight, I could see our emotion faces, this chart on the fridge. And I said, what are you feeling? And he goes over there and he chooses the embarrassed one. And I had never considered that, one, he knew the interaction was not the best, and two, that would trigger in him some shame. And embarrassment. And it gave me so much more compassion in that moment of correction instead of jumping on him. And it did bring me back, that polyvagal theory. It's like there's the green zone where you're calm, the window of tolerance, then you can go up into fight or flight, which is where I tended to go as I'd match them. If they're all high intensity energy, I'm matching them, and that's no one's learning. No learning is happening in the fight or flight or listening. Yeah. And so how can I get us back into the green, and just having that language of modeling that for them of like, this is what's going on.
And Danny, you've talked about that too. We've talked about that quite a bit before, of like staying calm enough as a parent to be curious about our child and ask those kind of questions. And I see that there's a lot of emotion here right now. I see anger, I see frustration. Can you tell me about that? Like, where is that coming from? What is the need that you're, what are you wanting here? What are you looking for? Danny, you've really coached, me on that, with the kids, of just asking these kind of questions. And then in that moment, they're feeling seen, they're feeling loved. They're probably de-escalating because they just want, often that's the core need that is being asked for, is they want to be seen, they want to be loved and acknowledged, So
they want to be hugged sometimes.
Yeah, hugs. Right? Yeah.
Imagine.
So these are tools that we can reach for that curiosity. And I think for me, it's a lot of it is just, staying calm enough in my own self, having compassion enough for my own self. I'm being triggered right now. I can kind of stay calm enough to be curious about what's going on in me, but then also in my child, and it doesn't have to go to that heightened fight or flight place.
And to be calm requires all this work.
Yes.
Of figuring out the why. We're going to have triggers, right? This is my Texas example. I had a Topo Chico in my Stanley cup, and I added some hydration powder, and I did not recognize that I hadn't allotted enough space in my Stanley for the bubbling over, the fizziness, and it was covering my countertop. And I think that's us as parents. When you're finding and you're observing what's going on here, I am yelling at the car on the highway. I'm flipping out at the Starbucks worker. I mean, people are losing their minds all across town. And I think we're all at max capacity. And how can we make capacity? And I think that we have a body and a soul and a spirit. And all of those pieces we need to give attention to.
Yes.
So does your body. Do you need an actual glass of water? Sometimes when I had little kids, I had forgotten to drink water all day. No wonder had only been eating off of their plates. Yeah. I hadn't eaten an actual meal. I mean, that's basic.
I'm so intrigued. Like, what are some other, as you've pressed into this, and you've written about things in this line, what are some other, and I'm sure you've podcasted about it, but what are some other ways that we can increase our capacity as moms? Like, just ideas, like
it's
tips.
Like drink a glass of water would increase your capacity. If you're an introvert, have you had alone time? If you're an extrovert, have you had time with friends? I mean, I meet so many people who are just, their schedules are completely packed. They haven't moved their body.
Being able to say no to things.
We just keep, and I think part of it is because we have the standard of what a good parent is. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Yeah. We're maximizing.
Comparing, probably because of online.
Oh, well, they're doing X, Y, and Z, and they're volunteering at X, Y. They're doing this. And it's like, so we just keep filling. And if we could recognize, and I know self-care, moms just throw it out the window because it feels like one more to do.
Task, right.
But if I postured it as your anger is related to your full cup overflowing. Yeah. So triggers are going to be everywhere. We're going to be triggered. I mean, the temperature could be wrong in the car, and we're triggered. And so if you doing these quote unquote self-care things, whether it's related to your body, your soul, or your spirit, that is going to allow those triggers to not lead you to spilling over.
Yes. It's going to increase your capacity, which helps you be a better mom. Yeah. And you said something earlier, just off air, that I thought was super helpful. Like, we often as moms are much more motivated for our kids than we are for ourselves. So it's like, if this is going to help me be a better mom, I'll probably give time to it.
Like that the flight attendant has to tell you to put on your mask first.
Yes. It's like, because it's not the instinct.
Because it's not the instinct. Yes. I'm way more aware of their emotional state than my own emotional state.
Yes.
Are they happy? Are they content?
Yes.
Have I even thought
Is their cup filled up?
Of where my feeling is on that feelings chart? Right. you know how many times we would get to group and they'd say tired and they'd look on the card.
Yes.
It's not an emotion. It's a physical state, and we don't even know what we feel.
Yeah. So sleep might be a capacity
but that
builder.
could be a capacity builder if you can only think of tired as your emotions. Yeah.
Dr. Daniel Amen talks about our flipping of the lid.
Oh, the flip the lid.
Right?
Yeah.
You've heard that one. And I remember talking to my kids about that. Picture your brain running around the room. And I've had several moments where I pictured my brain running around the room and I needed to catch it before I said anything. Mm-hmm. There was a particular time that I've shared, maybe in this show before, and that is when my daughter was, she and her friend had melted a crock pot on our stovetop.
Wow.
I
don't think I even knew that was possible.
Yeah.
Like they
melt
put
a
it up
crock
like
pot.
they thought it was a skillet type thing?
They were going to do some lotion stuff and they forgot. They just turned it on. The crock pot was on. We had soup going on in there. And they were just talking, having a great time. I was writing a paper for the PhD program. There was a deadline. I was at capacity.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there just typing away and I hear, oh no. I said, wait, what's going on? And so I go around the corner and there's a melted crock pot.
What?
And I wanted to say, could you guys not smell that? You were standing right there. You know what I mean? And
like
then
soup everywhere?
And no, because the crock pot, it was just the shell that had melted. The other part was intact. And so I walked right past she and her friend, looked out the window, and I was just picturing my brain running around in the backyard, and I was watching and grabbed a cup and filled it with water all the way to the top, and they were just staring. I turned around, drinking the water, and just assessing what I needed to do.
You were regulating yourself.
I was regulating.
Getting
Actually,
back in the
most of
green zone.
I drank most of the water looking out the window. Mm-hmm. Then I turned around, and I saw that my daughter felt really bad. She was just staring at me. And the friend was looking down, kind of not wanting to make eye contact. And I said, okay, you guys did an amazing job of creating a masterpiece here. I've never seen the inside of a crock pot. So let's take a look at that, and let's get some pictures. Lexi, you're going to need to pay for a new crock pot. You guys are going to need to clean this up. It's kind of messy. I'm going to get back to my paper. I wanted to say so many other things, but I needed to catch my brain. And it's not, we don't always do that. And I know I've had moments where I've reacted, and then I have to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't catch my brain. It was running. And what you talked about was the elevating of our emotions to match where our kids are at. What we can do is regulate ourselves so our child can be regulated. Yeah. And that's the beauty of how God created relationship. We have direct impact towards one another, and we can impact each other just in our nonverbals. So if you just look at your child's eyes, maintain calmness while they're dysregulated, it can be disarming to your child. It just takes a ton of self-control and, as you said, capacity. So that filling in is important. What have you noticed when you're talking to moms about the filling in? What's a common one that moms say, man, that is so filling to me? Is it a women's retreat?
I think that is very woman to woman dependent. Right. I think that she has to know, because one gal could be like, oh, getting my nails done, like, I feel so amazing. And another one's like, that is absolutely the last place I want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It might be a bath. It might be reading. It might be coffee.
I think you need to know for yourself. And I do think you need to get creative outside the box of what is traditionally thought of.
That's great.
Yeah. Yes. And, it could be a walk around the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be expensive. It
can be a shower. It can be
it could be. And
sauna,
whatever you think about your life pre-kids. What did you love? What did you love as a kid? I love being outdoors.
Yes.
So to make sure I'm getting that can
and those
be really
are the ones
regulating.
I've heard most frequently. Taking a walk, outdoors, hiking, or a nap.
Yeah.
I've heard a nap. Can I just get margin for a nap?
Yeah, there's friends of mine, they set timers. They know exactly how much time they need to kind of reset in the day.
And the kids rest too, right, in that time?
Well, I mean, if that's, these could be moms. These could be moms whose kids are at school all day and they're not even
taking that
You
time.
can basically fill your day, whether you work outside the home or you work from home, with other things, and you're just going and blowing.
And this is when dads can see that and just say, hey, I'm going to take the kids to the park, or
I
think dads are actually not taking this as much in this generation.
Yeah.
I think because the previous generation, dads were kind of hands off when it came to parenting. Now dads are doing something that moms have been struggling with, the whole balance of work life, and dads are now, I think,
good observation,
not getting time. I'm just going to speak on behalf of the dads that perhaps as moms we need to take away the guilt if they need time with guy friends or they need whatever their capacity filler.
And that's key, though. I don't think as many guys are taking time for guy friend time.
Guy friend time, or even what if you're an introvert and it is not allowable that you just sit and do nothing because that looks like you're being a lazy dad? It's like, well, what if he needs that
right,
to be the best version of the dad, and he comes out and he's, ready to go with the kids.
And you're right. I feel like, you had this picture back in, decades past of the dad coming home from work and sitting in the armchair for a while,
reading
right?
The paper.
Or reading the paper or TV or something. But you're right. I think there is guilt for both parents, male and female, about this, the
maybe
capacity
a little
filling.
Bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you about something to do with kind of, even regulation? I think if I look at my life, and probably my husband too, one of the things that probably makes us get upset the fastest would be disrespect within the home, or just them not listening well, or disobedience, things like this that become a trigger, because it's easy, I think, with your kids to take it personally. My mom has said to me, I'm the oldest of 7, you can't, when your kids are not doing the right thing, you can't actually take it personally. But for me, I just cannot get my head around that. It's like, I asked you to do this one thing. I'm not asking too much, just do it. Like that will really be a blessing to me. How hard is it? I literally have thought that so many times. How hard is it? But we can just get so worked up. It's like, it feels personally offensive. What can you say to me and other moms that just feel like, come on, guys, don't disrespect me over and over, because I am struggling to keep regulated when I feel this.
Well, what comes to mind, I can completely relate, and I think of a 2-year-old tantruming. And I think of how I responded when my oldest did that versus my 4th. With my oldest, I would take it personally, like, how can you do this? Why are you not okay? What is happening? I'd do everything, and I'd spin out of control. And then by the 4th, I'm like, I'm so sorry you're sad. And I'd basically step over him and go to the next. Come find me when you're feeling
too. Yes.
When you're feeling better. As I could hold my own, because I knew this wasn't a sign that he was going to be someone who couldn't regulate his emotions long term. That this was a stage.
Yes.
And I think with disrespect, individuation, I met your lovely daughter. She's hitting that stage where she's becoming her own person. So it changes the dynamic. So we have to recognize that now we're dealing not with someone who just falls in line, but someone who has their own thoughts and their own ideas. And us being respectful of even that was something I had to learn, that feeding the mouth that bites you book.
We've had him on as a guest.
I'm sure you've had him on. I mean, what keeps coming to mind is guests I've had, because any wisdom I have is not from my own. I'm the Titanic, okay? I'm like, avoid that iceberg. Any wisdom is something I've heard. Kirk Martin is another guest I had on many, many times, and he would always tell me, Heather, you care too much. You're using this pleading voice, and it's kind of setting the expectation and communicating and setting a clear consequence. And I'm not a big fan that obedience does the 5 things that even my boys' school would say, like right away with a happy heart, blah, 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 blah. Not a fan of it because I don't think we as adults do that. And people would say, oh, well, then they're not going to obey God. I'm like, Bible's full of that story that a lot of people did not obey God right away with a happy heart.
Right.
This is a journey of relationship and building trust. But I think when it comes to, let's say I make a request, I have to also do the internal work of, is my request reasonable? Am I needing it for my life to go more simply? Have I set up a expectation? Because sometimes my boys now will be like, well, if you just told me,
been clear about it.
Just been a little bit more clear that was important to you, I would have done it. I didn't know. And I'm making a lot of assumptions. And I'm, again, with that schedule and fast and moving, the pace is so fast that
Yep.
I'm just needing them to do it because I can't now manage it.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And being ready for the why. That question is so important for us to be ready for and not feel threatened by.
When they get to that developmental stage.
Yeah, when they get to that place where they can say, so why are we doing this? Hey, this is why we're deciding to do this in our home. What's been interesting is that the value of obedience has gone down the last decade, where parents don't value it as much, and they value success over obedience. And I really believe there's an issue of trust there, where I think as parents we're wanting to not create blind obedience, but wise obedience. And that's something we get to teach in our home, that there's an obedience out of a respect, but there is a purpose to that obedience. It's forming you, it's transforming you, but it's also creating a connectedness with another person.
And that's the success that parents are looking for? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Well, no, they're looking for success
They just
overall.
want you to be a trophy they can put on Facebook, and there's actually
negative.
There's a lack of relationship because of, I think,
make me look good.
all of
that
the
kind of
practices
parenting.
and all of the places that everyone's going.
Okay.
You're not building relationships, so why would I listen to you? I don't really know you. I don't really believe that you're for my best. And I do 100% agree.
Yeah, with obedience, what do you think is at the core of defiance? And let's say you're in a fairly good relationship with your teen or your preteen. What's at that core of defiance that you have seen? I mean, one of them, selfishness. I mean, that's one that we all wrestle with, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to understand that in our kids, that there's a wrestling match in there. What would be another thing that you would say you've noticed in your kids when they're trying to, do their life in the midst of you trying to shape their life?
I think that we can't quite grasp the pressures current teens are under. Like, I don't think we can recognize what it's like to be in an environment where at any moment your mistake could be the end of all connections and relationships. We were one mistake away from complete
at school, online,
rejection.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's not like I tripped and fell in the lunchroom and the people in the lunchroom saw. Could be millions of people see.
Watching it.
But beyond that, I just think there's a dynamic of wanting to belong that was inherent in families prior to our current culture that doesn't exist anymore. So the belonging comes from friendships. And then I think some of those choices, if it's obedience, is them trying to maintain relationship. And this is me just making up a theory.
Yeah.
I didn't go to get my PhD in anything. But it's just I'm noticing like so much of decisions being made are about maintaining. And I have boys, so I can only imagine double down on girls wanting to make sure they're wearing the right thing, saying the right thing. Belonging and significance. I mean, they're looking for what's my value. And even if you told them 1,000 times your identity is in Christ, that means nothing when they're looking to find it.
But you hit at something that's very core, and it's fear.
Yeah.
Teens, kids go to self-protection if they feel a sense of vulnerability, and a lot of defiance is this self-protection, and also maybe a distrust. But let's focus in on this fear component. Yeah. Have you noticed your boys ever admitting fear? Have they ever told you, "Yeah, I'm actually afraid of this"? Because it is harder for men.
I don't know that they would say afraid. This is what our culture, the allowable word, is overwhelmed. And on that fear, on that emotions card, overwhelmed is next to fear. And why are we overwhelmed? Maybe because something's going to fall. I'm going to fail. And so they have communicated being overwhelmed. Definitely that fear of missing out, for sure. I think a lot of that plays into it.
That's good.
So
good. And you know what I think about this whole self-protection as parents, do we model communication with our spouse, with other people, community, community, at church or other places where we're able to pray for one another and ask for that prayer? I sometimes you've shared, Rebecca, that you've told your kids, "Hey, please pray for me. I'm going to be in this thing." I've done that with my kids. "Hey, please pray for for me, that's a good place for our kids to see that we can find strength in that. There's an obedience when we pray, when we talk to our Heavenly Father and seek guidance from Him, and we can be shaped by that. Do you have any last words of encouragement for mom or dad that is struggling with anger, struggling with getting their kids to obey? Any last words of encouragement?
I mean, I have a poop story.
Yeah, let's bring that. Yeah, I mean, that would leave us hanging there.
I was in a place where I was having my morning quiet time, feeling very calm, right, in the green zone. Other kids were at school, and my youngest was asleep, but I hear these footsteps coming down the stairs, and I'm like, oh, he's up. But I hear words like poop, mess. Okay, what am I going to find? Kind of like your stovetop story. Yeah. And, there's the poop footprints on the carpet. Wow. I can see over the lid of the toilet just a mound of toilet paper. He's tried so hard to clean up his mess. I mean, he was maybe 2. I mean, little, maybe 3.
Oh, wow.
And he won't even go in there. He's so shame-filled by this mess. And I'm filling up the tub. I'm like, thankfully in a calm place. Now, alternative, moms, if you're listening, I could have responded with a lot of anger if we had to get to a soccer game or someone needed to get to school or I had a speaking engagement. But I had nowhere to be, and I had just spent time with Jesus, very calm. So I said, this is fine. This is no big deal. We can clean this up. I get a plastic bag out. I'm cleaning it all up. He gets in the tub, and finally he just was really hesitant to go in there, and I feel his hand on my back just sweetly petting my back, and he said, I love you, Mom.
Oh, wow.
And I would have missed that. I would have missed that. But my encouragement to you is that pile, that mess, if that's what your past relationship with anger feels like you don't understand, Heather, I've really made some big mistakes with my emotions and how I've treated my kids. I just want you to know nothing is too much for God. He sees that mess as completely able to be cleaned up. He is willing to work with you. He is not shaming you, any shame you feel of unworthiness, that you're not only that you did a bad thing and that mom guilt, but that mom shame that you are a bad mom. He's right there saying that's not true. He sees your intention and he loves you.
Those are good words,
Heather. That is a wonderful way to end our time together. Thank you so much. We've loved
to be with you guys.
It's been so valuable. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, Heather was so funny. I enjoyed the conversation. Yes. She brought a lot of great nuggets to take from this episode.
Yep.
And, you need humor when you're in that place of burnout and frustration. Humor can be connecting, but it can also calm down stress. And she brought a really refreshing lightheartedness. I will remember just the feeling of that interview for a while because of her enjoyment of life. She was very open about times where it was difficult for her or she wasn't doing it well. And as we talk about on the show, this is not about perfection. It truly is about the transformation. And when we're doing that, we're seeing these pieces of humor come out, but also the community. She seems to be one that very intentionally builds community around her, and that's been really beneficial to her. And I would encourage you as listeners, as we're thinking about this, not only moms building community, but dads building community. Both moms and dads need that opportunity to connect with other parents that are doing the best they can, and also just taking a break from all the challenges that are there when you're parenting, and then praying for one another. That's something unique, Rebecca, that we want to emphasize in this podcast, is the importance of praying with one another and for one another. There's so many psychological tools that we could be providing and so many practical tools, but it truly begins with, what is my relationship like with my Heavenly Father? Do I believe He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that He cares deeply for me? Because out of that relationship will flow a desire to be connected and united with His body.
That's true.
And then to be within that body where we build one another up, and we unite with this vision of wanting to raise up our kids to have a thriving faith in Christ.
Yes.
And if you can have that common community, man, what a powerful influence that can have in the community around you, but also in your home. And I really do think that this episode has set vision and some practical tools for parents.
Yes, absolutely. And, you mentioned something, about just now about the body of Christ and the importance of being together in community. And if you're in a time in your life where you're needing extra community as a parent, I really encourage you to look no further than the church and your church or a friend's church. Maybe if you're not in community right now, will probably have those resources, or definitely a church in your area will have those resources and those moms groups or the parent groups where you can find that encouragement you need. So thank you, Danny, for your wisdom, and thank you for bringing that up, because I think it's a wonderful place to find it.
And Rebecca, I was just thinking about a text too that we just created for moms. And it's, if you text love to 32728, love to 32728, we'll have that in the show notes. It gives you 5 wins as a mom that you can go towards. And as a community, that can be a fun thing to do as you pour in intentionally with those 5 wins, and then talk about it.
What kind of wins, Danny? What kind of things?
It can be as simple. I think one of them is as simple as bringing your smile in, a genuine smile into the home.
Oh, it's great.
Towards your spouse and the kids.
Yes.
And then observing the impact it has. Sometimes we forget to just simply smile genuinely into each other's eyes within the home.
Great.
Because we're so busy and thinking about tasks. But when you do that, your kids may say, "What's wrong, Mom? What are you up to?" And it's just, "I just love you." And that's the win that you're getting. You're creating intentional momentum in your home, and it can start as simple as that.
Well, and this is really the reason why I like to listen to podcasts and to hear other people's take or other people's ideas on different subjects and get advice. Parents everywhere need that support, and we really hope that as you're listening at home or on your run or in the car or wherever you are right now, that you are enjoying that about this podcast too, that it's community and you're getting ideas and receiving wisdom for your parenting. And if you have ideas that work for your mom small group or your parent group, or that you're gaining wisdom in these areas and you'd like to share, we'd love for you to leave us a voicemail when you reach out to us through the show notes.
And if you'd like to get a copy of Heather's book, Don't Mom Alone, we would be happy to send that to you for a gift of any amount. We'll put links in the show notes too.
Well, it's time for our weekly Q&A. This week's question comes from a dad named Bill, who asks,
"Hi, Practice Makes Parent. I'm Bill. I guess this question is more for Danny, but I'd like to hear what Rebecca thinks too. I'm a dad who loves being a dad. I just don't know how good I am at it. See, my wife does almost everything to take care of our 2 kids. They're 6 and 8, and she takes care of me too. I feel like I'm second fiddle in this musical, and it's not what I thought fatherhood would be. This probably sounds terrible, but I like being with just the guys. I find that I can really enjoy myself when I'm away from the house. I haven't told my wife this because I know it won't go over well. What can I do to find joy in my role as a father? P.S. I married a great woman and our marriage is really good. Am I just a jerk?"
Well, Danny, I really love how this is a dad who's really trying to be a diligent dad. He's trying to grow. I love the humility in these questions that he's asking. And I think he wants to engage more as a dad. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that he's kind of modeling even in this question. Like, I want to be the best dad that I can be. How can I grow in this area? And so I'm thankful for Bill's humble attitude,
Yeah, I like the posture of it. Yet in there, what I'm noticing is he expected fatherhood to be something different.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, Bill, what were you expecting fatherhood would be, and where has it not gone right in the direction you thought it would go? It's you did say that you enjoy yourself more outside of the home. Maybe what's happening is you don't feel a sense of connectedness with your kids, and in the sense that there's a home that requires your investment, your guidance, some things that aren't as fun, but can be very connecting and very rewarding if you have a vision that you're setting up and that you're investing in your kids for their future. And in that process, you can find some fun moments with your kids. I would encourage you to begin to form a weekly celebration with your family. Be the one that maybe comes in with a solution, and you come to your wife and say, hey, I'd love to be helpful. What are some ways that I could be most helpful to you in supporting that? Because you're not second fiddle, you're serving. And that's, Jesus said, I've come to serve. And out of that servant heart, you begin to find freedom and you begin to foster love. And so you're bringing something so important to your family by saying, how can I be most helpful? How can I serve? And then second, make your home a home of celebration. So find a day where you're going to say, this is going to be family night. And we're going to look for the things, check in on how are things going well in our home? What are some things that could be going better? And how, as parents, can we lead the way in doing that? And then what are some things we can just celebrate?
That's great.
And you can have the kids participate in coming up with ideas of how you do the celebration, and then maybe create a menu for you guys a menu of activities you guys could do that family night. Especially with 6 to 8 year olds, man, it's a fantastic age to get them involved and having a fun time, getting in a pattern, a habit of celebrating together. And then as you're listening to your wife and what she has to tell you on ways that you can be helpful, find joy in that and find ways to make those day-to-day tasks fun, because I can see you're wanting to enjoy being a part of the house, and instead of going away from it, maybe step towards it and find the ways that you can bring your personality into the home and also combine it with the personalities of your kids that are developing and your wife. And the more you develop those ongoing rhythms, the more you'll look forward to them over time, and your kids will look forward to spending time with you. And I think that'll create that oxytocin and the dopamine you talk about that comes from being with your friends as well. And so I love what you said at the end. P.S. I married a great woman, and our marriage is really good.
That's huge.
This will take it to great, from good to great.
Yes,
right, Rebecca?
absolutely.
That's what we want to do as husbands. And it sounds, Bill, like you are really wanting to make the home a better place. Have a starting point instead of going towards this am I a jerk type of question. Maybe a better question would be, where do I start as I re-engage with my family? And instead of going to judgment, just going towards action. You've got this, Bill.
Yes.
We're excited that you reached out, and we'll keep cheering you on. If you have other questions along the way, Bill, reach out again.
And I love your idea, Danny, about the fun menu, like creating a fun menu. I'm sure Bill will love to do that and is going to enjoy putting that into action. Bill, thank you so much for your question. We are going to send you Danny's book, 7 Traits of Effective Parenting, as our way of saying thank you for your question.
Hey, I want to challenge all the guys, all the dads who are listening. If you have any questions, this is the perfect place to ask the question. And if you want to stay anonymous, feel free to do so. There's no judgment around that. We would just like to help you where we can. We'll do our best to serve you. This is, again, a community of parents together, growing and doing the best we can. So click the show notes and let us hear from you. We have a great time with this show, and we hope you're enjoying it too. Will you do us a favor and talk to your friends about it? We would love it if you did. And share it with your small group at church or your book group or Bible study. We just love helping people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, next week we'll be hearing from Erin Lynham. She has some great ideas on how we can get our families out into nature while growing closer to God. I love that.
There's so much research on how getting outdoors helps calm our minds, our hearts, our souls. So that's going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
I'm Dr. Danny Huerta.
And I'm Rebecca St. James. Join us next time for more tips for transforming your parenting on Practice Makes Parent.